So let's go for a little walk. This is going to be a great walk today. This is the furthest I've walked on the property, I think. I'm going to walk out to the north gate. I'm here with Sherilyn. And that would be Shiva on the leash. And that was Sunrisa who ran by. Sunrisa does not live here, but spends quite a bit of time here. Just having fun and partying. I don't think he gets fed much, if at all. He's not supposed to, but he might steal a little food. No. Real great party dog. He actually grew up here. But then he lives with my friend in town, so he's my friend's dog now. And it's not too hot out. This is the time of year where during the day it gets, the sun becomes oppressively hot because we're at almost 8,000 feet, 2,200 meters. And so, that's why I've got my hat and everything. Cool. Well, this is quite a walk. We're headed back from the gate now. We had to unlock it because somebody's showing up soon. Now I got to walk up a hill to get back. But at least I can walk, and I'm not in pain. It's just my legs are tight and tired, but that's not so bad. And that's exactly what I got to do. Start walking around. I used to walk around all the time, very far, every day. I used to walk into town, the close one, and I used to walk into the far one. That's 5 kilometers down, 5 kilometers back. Uphill on the way back. Those are good walks, and that's why I was in shape. That's why I wasn't as fat. Right now I'm 190, I think, 95, something like that. And I want to be 185. It's a good weight for me, I think. So that's not too far off. Oh, there's some blackberry here. That's great. Odd spot for it, but I don't care. And you don't mind walking slow that much, do you? It doesn't drive you nuts.
I would walk faster if I wasn't with you.
You would walk faster. But you're not like me, probably. Like, no. If I'm walking with somebody that's slower than me, I'm kind of freaking out.
Yeah, I used to tell you, go.
Right, just leave, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not going to walk as fast
right.
as you. And when I'm with you, it feels like I have to try to walk fast.
Sure.
Like, if you want to talk, let's stop and talk. Otherwise... you just run on ahead and I'll catch up with you.
Right. Which is a great response. Just because I'm walking fast does not mean you have to unless we've made some agreement about getting somewhere at a certain time or something.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I think especially coming back from Yota or Oranga. Because this is a hill, but this is a long, not a steep hill, and there's that Yota hill. Yeah. It's really steep.
It's very steep.
Right up, and I'm like, yeah, I'll see you later.
Yep. Well, that's why I never really had to exercise or go to the gym or anything. Because walking, I feel like, is the exercise we were evolved to do. That's the number one thing we did is exercise. You go and you get some food over there, and you walk over there, and you take your teepee and you move it somewhere else. I just watched a really cool thing about Mongolian teepees. Those people are experts.
You mean yurts?
It's not a yurt. It's a pole thing. It looks like a wide teepee. I don't know if it's officially called a teepee, but it works just like one. They have a fire inside and everything. They're actually really cozy. And they're big and they got a bunch of people in them. And supposedly they move them every couple days. Yeah. It's nuts. I mean, they're just really tough. It would be amazing to go hang out with them for a couple weeks and see if you could even keep up. They're pretty hardcore. Out in Mongolia. That'd probably be one of the neater places in the world to explore, actually. I don't meet a lot of people who've gone to Mongolia. And it's a pretty big area. So.
Popular tourist destination.
Yeah. Hi, Coco. Hi, good boy. Hi there. Hi there. You're such a sweetums. This is Coco, the all-white dog who came. He's the only all-white dog I've ever had. He's like a polar bear, except that he doesn't look like one at all, except being white. That's a terrible analogy. But he came from Yotatir with his brother Boogie, and they're great dogs. And what does Boogie mean? It's boogeyman. Boogeyman. And Coco, in Spanish, is the name of a boogeyman-like character Like if you're a kid and you don't go to sleep, then the parents will say, oh, you got to go to sleep or the boogeyman will get you or something. I don't know. I was never a kid in Mexico.
But I
But
think it's cuckoo.
cuckoo?
Yeah.
Oh, I looked it up. It gets pronounced a couple different ways.
Yeah.
So there's variations on it, but it's still correct.
The local guy said cuckoo.
Yeah, I know that's what started that conversation and search. But I found out online that it's still an okay name. The only confusion is it sounds like coconut, which is also good because he's white. He's like coconut meat, right? And then Coco the movie, which was Coco the old lady. What?
Just watch your feet.
Yeah, I gotta watch my feet. Yeah, falling over at this point is not a good idea. I've had 3 setbacks since the accident. The first one of which was just me getting out of the van. And I got out too fast and hit my leg wrong, and that set me back for a while. And the other was a mysterious one that has no explanation on my right leg, which had been better actually for a while. And then the last one, I fell over and actually injured myself. That was about 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I think so.
My timing is all around the food trucks. Was it
Sure.
before? It was after the last food truck.
Yeah, it was after the last food drive. It was 2.5 weeks, something like that. So I'm actually getting better. I cracked my ribs, hurt my hand. My hand is mostly better, just has dull pain. And the ribs I was really hurting. But then now I'm back on track. And the main thing is, and I knew this before I fell down, is always look around. I have to be really paranoid. I have to pretend I'm made of glass or something. And this is all rocky road here. It's all, rocks and stuff. This road's pretty good, but others have sticks on them, stuff like that. So it's a dangerous place to be. And if I have a problem, I have no good backup. I mean, I can't just go to the doctor, and there's no money for that, and I don't want to leave anyway, and there's a virus thing. And so the main thing is be very cautious and aware, and don't overdo it. Like even right now, my legs are almost cramping up just from a walk out to the north gate, which is probably, I don't know, a little less than half a kilometer, I think.
No idea.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on a walk. We're getting back to the house now. Adios. So I have a friend visiting, someone I've known for a long, long time down here. She's a gringa. A lot of similar values, interested in plants, a little bit different style, although I suppose we're a bit brash and bold at times, which is a good thing. And so she drove up here in her 4x4 on the road, the dirt road, and right now she's going down to see a cat. It was a cat that her 8-year-old daughter gave me years ago, and now her daughter's an adult. And that cat, who's named Callie Spot, has lived a long time. All the other cats I've had here have been killed, but Callie Spot is very careful, right? And so it's great that she can visit that cat after so many years. I mean, I have a photo of that cat with me wearing a cowboy hat, holding that tiny kitten in my hand. This is before the cat was even ready to be adopted. I mean, it was just tiny, 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 made of nothing. And I brought it here later on, and it has its own house here that it's safe in, and it's very cautious because there's a lot of wildlife that wants to kill animals here. And my dogs, some of my dogs would kill the cat too. So I'm so impressed that cat's lived so long, and she's super pretty. Callie Spot, the prettiest cat I know of. And I know she's going to die someday. I mean, I've seen so much death here of animals. But she's had a great life. She does prefer it when there's people here, because she meows a lot at people. She's kind of pushy, and she wants to be petted a lot. So she has a little bit solitary life. There was one time where she had a boyfriend, a really big cat. It might have been moderately wild cat, I don't know, or feral at least. A very big gray cat, and unfortunately that cat did not understand this location and got killed, probably by the dogs. So that is unfortunate, because it would have been way nicer if Callie Spot had a boyfriend. But Callie Spot lives a solitary feline life, and that's how it is. Yeah, So my friend has been here, I think, 3 times to different larger social gatherings. I have a small festival called Cumbre Ya that I've hosted a bunch of years, and then didn't host it in the last few years because I got tired, and now there's the pandemic issue. But maybe it's time for me to plan ahead for a new Cumbre Ya, a new gathering, invite only, application only, with each person being a participant. That idea is borrowed from Burning Man, and I really like the idea of upping the game on that, because for many people, Burning Man has just become a festival. And it is a festival. People like to say it's not. It essentially is, with a few different twists and rules, and I like that. Like, there's no commercial things allowed. I don't need that rule. I can allow some commercial things, but I might have them be juried or decided how that can occur, kind of like Oregon Country Fair does. I like the idea, though, of a largely gift economy where people are here to give workshops and give to each other more than anything else. And I want to invite the people who are prepared to do that, as opposed to come and take and consume. There's takers, there's consumers. They're in the same general group. Most people are consumers because they're trained that that's all they're allowed to do. Consumption is their only value. And some of them, of course, get into conspicuous consumption of, like, thinking their value comes from what they consume. And then there's takers who are actively just trying to take as much as they can from a space. And those are the most evil people. They're constantly looking for something to take. They're very good at it. And what happens is that they destroy the givers. There's people whose goal is to give as much as they can and create as much and share as much as they can. And those people stop doing that if too high a percentage of people are takers. And so you have to weed out the takers. Fairly difficult to do since they're really wily. You know, they're very good at what they do. They're tricky. So anyway, it's essentially an invite-only event, although people can apply to come. And I'd love to do that again. Normally, we've had that particular event during Semana Santa. I don't know if there's enough time to plan for that time period, and I also am not comfortable that the pandemic is under control enough. But I can go ahead and plan for that for the future, for the unknown future, and write up better what the philosophical goals are, make better videos about it to enculturate people, and also find, locate, recruit people who would be awesome for it. Some of that kind of event is broadcast heavily, and so there's people I will invite that have YouTube channels and are on Instagram a lot, or who are writers and thinkers, and they may use the experience as a set to publish their experience, and then other people can come here more anonymously and, you know, just be here now in the time with the people. So now that's all temporary stuff, and so I am still looking for my longer term team, core team of people who are dedicated to the project, who love it, who believe in it, who want to live in it for a longer time. That's very different than somebody who comes in for a short time. In fact, right now, in the situation I'm in, I get mail from people who want to come for a few days, and it's kind of not worth it unless they're willing to pay quite a bit, and also respect the quarantine thing, that we're not going to be, you know, that close to each other. They can still learn a lot. We can still talk from, you know, 3 meters away, but they got to introduce themselves well, and they need to have social media profiles that tell me who they are, because my risk is high, my benefit is low, and so there's issues there, you know. And even for longer term people, how do I finance that? You know, I don't have crowdfunding functioning at the moment. I'm currently at $58 a month. It's not a lot. I'm currently failing, and I'm doing some other things online to make money. I have ways to make tiny bits of money doing things that I don't like doing, and it's tiny bits of money. So I'm scraping by, But this plane is crashing. It's already functionally crashed. I'm willing to give up. I don't know if I'm willing to give up. I'd rather die. I would rather die here than give up. I have nowhere else in the world I'd rather be, even though there's many other nice places. And I've even heard from people who are willing to host me for a few months, like living in their house and stuff. But I live so cheap here that anywhere else I go, someone would have to sign on for actually taking care of me. And I don't think anybody I know of is willing to do that. So I have to continue with the project. I'll continue with plant reproduction. I'm sitting here in the plant reproduction area with tons of trees and buckets and things where we baby them for a while before they're ready to go out into the forest and survive on their own. And I've got long-term forestry plans, architectural plans of how we can build things correctly to have houses that don't need any energy, any additional energy for heating or cooling. Cooling's not a problem up here. I'm in the mountains. Even though I'm in Mexico, it's not all just hot beaches, you know. I don't live on a hot beach. A hot beach might be nice occasionally, especially after being alone for so many years. But there's tons of projects here, more than I can deal with. I am working on writing those up. And because I think that a lot of people will be inspired by projects to get involved with the project here in general, that they would actually be willing to come here. Because I have great respect for anyone who's ever come here, and people who would come here, especially now, where the level of involvement is far deeper. Most of the people who came here before were here for sometimes very short events, for 2 nights, 3 nights. And then a bunch of them came as participants for a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks. And then some people stayed for years. So I have to figure out kind of the social contract and make sure that's not a verbal contract, but a written one about what the culture is here and how we live. So, yeah, tricky spots. I am open to suggestions, but if you want to give me useful suggestions, I really recommend you study the project a little bit if you want me to take you seriously. I mean, it's fine. You can just make a comment or suggestion about something you would think about or you would dream about, but it may not be at all in tune with the things I care about. And it may not be pragmatically reasonable, possible, profitable, beneficial to do here. So, and then of course, being involved online is awesome. You can help so much by just liking and sharing things, and again, you can still make your comments about what you think we should do. But I'm pretty figured out. So, on the other hand, I also need to partner with organizations and people who want to help. So certainly donors are very welcome. I love the idea of small donors who love the project. There's very few projects in the world that are green or sustainable, that are actually green and sustainable. Most of them are greenwashing lies. And this place runs under me, so I'm a pretty easy guy to figure out in a lot of ways. It lives really cheap. I live really cheap. The project operates very cheaply. Most of the money goes into the local economy here in rural Mexico. It just disappears into that economy for some help and some products and local labor. And so by supporting me, you're actually supporting a very rural place in Mexico where the people are such sweethearts and they're so nice. And a lot of people have, I believe, underutilized abilities. And so I want to figure out how we can make higher value products, and there's a lot of other good projects going on in this area anyway. Like there's some people doing rain capture. Of course, I would love that more. I would love to make more composting toilets in the local communities. Composting toilets save tons of water, and the lake is in danger here because all the water's been tapped off and is being used to do things like flush toilets, which is stupid anywhere in the world. And then, with the plant propagation, we want to plant plants all over the place here, for food sovereignty, food security. nopales, for example, we have here, and those should be just everywhere. They're emergency food. As long as there's nopales, no one's going to die of hunger. We just get really bored of nopales. And of course, there's a dozen other active agricultural experiments here, and 100 more we could do, where we can grow things that don't need irrigation or outside fertilizer and produce food. So, what is all of my point with that? Well, anyway, it's nice to see this guest again, this former participant at Bosque Village events. She's a totally dynamic, powerful person who makes things happen, and I admire people like that. She might adopt a dog off me. She might adopt Shiva, a dog who's been having a violence altercations with another dog. She attacks the other dog, the other female in the pack. So anyway, it's so pleasant to have a visitor. She's also been respectful about disease issues. She doesn't want to get the virus. I don't want to get the virus. So we've been pretty distant, which is awesome. And yeah, and if she takes a dog, I'll end up going and visiting the dog over there. I don't think she's going to take it today because she has a different dog that has dominance issues at her house. So we might work something out for the future. Excellent. Here they come. Bye. These are chickens roasting on a spit. Really yummy chickens. For 200 pesos, I can get 2 chickens, which is really awesome. I brought my own pot here so that they can just dump them in it, so I have low risk, This is El Rey del Pollo. And yeah, this is the brand thing here. Really yummy. And I think that they use an adobo sauce, which is, I think, made out of seeds and stuff. Hola. Busco dos pollos. And it's here in Pátzcuaro. I don't know why no one in Aranga makes chicken this way. I would really love it. I think that'd be great. But, whatever. Sí, dos y yo tengo mi propio olla. So that's a pretty good price. I don't eat meat a lot. I eat almost a vegan diet, a little bit of eggs, but it's very rare for me to eat animal products. And in this case, it's not ideal. Like I don't know where these chickens come from, but it's all right. So I'm pleased. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this chicken. So now I went back to the view porch to get some water. I should make a whole nother video just about when you should drink water. So I'm going to head back to this intersection that we're trying to name. A place that can't have its identity because the identities around it are also strong. The use of all these spaces is really interesting and is going to evolve over time into a location. Its primary function is as an interchange of locations. I didn't finish my tour before. Let's finish it up now. I didn't mention that up from this part of the intersection where things go from Nexus to the Alicante, they go over here to the View, and then this other road here goes up and immediately divides. So it's not just one thing, it makes the intersection way more complex. This is a very complex interchange of roads. And it's going to be used by one-way roads, but how do they cross? What happens? Which way is it if it's one way? That's undecided in the case of almost all the roads. Because there isn't enough people, we'd have to figure it out. We're going to have to. So up from this place I talked to you about that's unknown, this road goes off. It goes by a cabana called something, and then it goes down to another cabana area, and then it wanders a bit. It goes by some chickens, and then it gets to the lodge, and everything else in the casita and all that shit's down there. So this is a really important road. It doesn't even have a name. That's lame that it doesn't have a name. But, I don't know what to name it. Between here and another road, there's space. You know, I mean, each space is very individual. I could tell you about each one, but it's bore most people. Anyway, up this hill is a road. What's interesting is we get not more than 4 meters up this hill. There's a tiny road off behind this other grove of trees that we haven't talked about yet. Okay, and then we've got, so this road goes up, and it goes up to another road that also goes on contour. And there's going to be weird intersections at the places where a contoured road meets with another road that is coming up into it. So this intersection of slope versus non-slope, how do we handle that? Like, what do we flatten? What do we widen? We want to do as little as we have to. And we want to then also imagine if that existed, what's the smartest use? And planning for one-way roads is really important. We also have to make sure that you can definitely turn the incorrect way on any intersection between two roads. In other words, make them wide enough so an emergency vehicle, for example, or for some reason, maybe you need to reverse the flow of some roads sometimes. I think that's worth thinking about. Like, those intersections matter because there may be times when we want things to move one way only through a given road, depending on unknown conditions. But the engineering behind it we can do ahead of time. Now, maybe this is like something basic for civil engineering students, but I thought it up on my own. So it's probably, you know, like chapter 2 or something of the civil engineering layout design thingy or whatever. I don't know. I'm laying out roads, and I think about them, each one, every bit of it, and its effect on everything else. So not hardly anywhere up from here, a road goes off there. It's not that important a road. It's not ever going to be a road that gets traffic on it. Probably, but I don't think so. This is meant to be a private area back in here. There will probably be some careful use of everything around here. Don't rush me. So anyway, this one goes up. The one part that goes up goes way over there. It goes all the way over to the farthest away gate. And this road, this sloping road right here, could become the primary entry to the Bosque and exit, entry and door. And I do want to have maybe different exits and entries. I'm not sure. That also gets into being able to switch the flow of the roads. But I think people coming down from Lazar Zamora, right? And then coming in the gate, and then coming down a very specific route down here onto the mesa, which tells you something about this intersection. This very complicated intersection is a potential for one of the highest trafficked roads in the entire Bosque. And that's because being so far up above, it doesn't disrupt so much of the lower Bosque. So we're not involving then that main traffic. Now, this is all imaginary, okay? I'm making all this shit up. I don't have anything close to the number of people who are going to suddenly inundate me to have a big crowd here. But I want to imagine a future in which there were more people, okay? And I may not even want those people because some of them, most people, you probably met them. Oh my God. Good luck with them. And but this is part of the puzzle, is how can we have the human animals interact in an environment and have it function as an intelligent organism, as a society, a bunch of people of different types in different roles, and that's to be determined, are living among an enhanced forest. And even the fact that we're bringing in food all the time, and you know, dog bones from the butcher, and we're bringing in every bit of food we buy, which is, you know, a fair amount of it, dried goods and stuff. We're not going to grow them here. We're not going to cut down and make fields and stuff. So, you know, we pick and choose our challenges. But in general, biomass is entering into the forest. Even our composting toilets, people poo and that becomes soil. It all goes into the system somewhere. So anyway, we're still on this intersection. Up there, that's what's really interesting is, I'll just tell you quick here, the other direction. So the one I told you about goes to the far southwest gate, okay? The high southwest gate. Again, a dumb name, and he's a name, geez. So obvious. So anyway, and then there's some other crap up there. And then this other road up there goes off that way towards Cosmic and Truth. And it's this odd upper thing that is almost more of a path than a road. Like, I've driven on it when it was first made, it got so grown over. In fact, lots of roads up there got grown over so much you couldn't pass them. And that's one of the reasons I got less worried about cutting some roads, is because in places where I've cut roads, I've improved the water flow. They're all created, every day when the bulldozer was here, thinking about water flow and working with the driver, and he was brilliant. Okay, he liked the project, because he understood that I cared so much, and I don't just want him to flatten something. I want him to sculpt it, a living sculpture, and he got it. It was awesome. So we worked together on stuff, and he eventually got it. And anyway, so the roads, the way they're done is for water flow largely, and then we're making microclimates and thinking about where water soaks in. If a road can be like a swale, which it can, and then what's the long-term use of a place, which I have lots of theories about every single place, but I'm very slow, and I have no money to build anything anyway, which is actually a good problem. I mean, if I had infinite money, I could make more mistakes. Although at this point, I've thought about stuff so much, and I have so much experience with some kinds of things, a bunch, that I can be very confident that I could dump a lot more resources and money into the development of this land to make it an amazing biological paradise. That's my goal. And I do it in the slowest, hardest way possible, because anybody can just come in and bulldoze and plant a bunch of stuff and then pave the rest and make it, human friendly for consumption. Anybody can do that. But to figure out how we can, even before we get here, plan things out, and knowing that this could be a place later where, there's hundreds of people. And I don't know what the maximum population should be here. It would depend completely on the goal. And that's unclear. Currently, I like a population of 1, because that's the easiest for me. Although I also don't like a population of 1, because that's the hardest for me. So, oh well. A few people is fine. I've been here with few people. Few people staying longer can be good. You really got to screen them well. And, they may have different roles here. I've had a lot of short-term people. I've had mostly short-term people. And then there's people who, I think the longest anyone stayed is 5 years. And that was great. That was really interesting, and it was a great adventure. And that person's awesome. And then I had some other people stay here in the range of 6 months or so. And there's been some of those. And each one's been very different. It's been completely different. My level of involvement with them has been varied. And they're all awesome people. Anybody who stayed here that long, I have to thank as being part of the adventure, and I don't always know what to say about people. Like, I don't want to violate people's privacy, but I do got to get better at rewarding and complimenting people while they're here as part of the experience, because I'm shy about it. Compliments are weird. I don't want to give someone power over me by saying that they are awesome. I would like to say to most people they're awesome, because mostly they are. And but I'm not always as complimentary as I should be, because also often my role is to keep them from fucking the place up and annoying me as well. What people want to do, normal people who come from the city or anywhere else, or anywhere that's not exactly right here, do not understand probably what the values and vision of this place is, and that they should humble themselves in front of the forest and then wonder the same thing I wonder. It's like almost a requirement. It's a philosophical requirement, is to at least listen to what I'm saying and have some interest in it. And I'm not talking about woo-woo shit. We don't need to name gods and stuff. And there's no fucking forest fairies, okay, except the ones that actually exist. And there's fireflies. Those are forest fairies. There you go. There's hummingbirds. Those are daytime forest fairies. And there's, I guess birds. I guess when I think of fairies, I think of birds. Oh, fairies have wings, right? Anyway. But this is the real shit, okay? Not the made-up shit used to manipulate your dumbass mind. And I don't care what form that comes in. But anyway, the point is that this place is a place that you can have a great reverence for as you wonder the same philosophical thing I'm wondering, which is, what impact do humans have in a space when they're on it? And what kind of times in history and in different climates and things, as they were nomadic. Nomadic is awesome. Ecologically, nomadic is really great, because you use a couple places less and you use it at the ideal time. So nomadic no longer works as well, but it still could a little bit. It depends, and you'd have to look at every single bioregion. But if you weren't going to have like gasoline for travel, that's a crazy hypothetical. But if you had like only horses, let's say, I'm not even completely sold on horses, but let's say you had horses and everything was safe. Okay, travel was safe and easy. It just was very low tech, and you couldn't travel as far. So like traveling to another continent, you would not do. I'm talking about a different ecological future, a different way of thinking about, your energy usage, because there's not going to be a magic solution unless it kills us. So that's something to think about. Like, all these people talk about producing more energy. That's going to give us a problem with even heat pollution, and we will fucking cook ourselves. And don't tell me we're going to stop ourselves, because we haven't been able to stop ourselves ever from increasing energy. And we have all sorts of other problems that convolute things massively. So we're kind of dead meat, as far as I can tell. All my nicest, smartest friends still shit in clean water, use way more electricity than they should, travel in planes more than they should. My fancy friends do it the most, and it's just like, why? How inefficient can we make things? I mean, if humanity's going to survive at all, then it will be due to increases in efficiency, and that's not enough, because we'll just make more of us. Population is one issue, and it's a whole other topic. But if we don't learn to control ourselves and we just keep doing more of what we're doing, we're going to poison our environment. It's unavoidable, and we're going to die anyway. Our health is already getting worse due to various contaminants we put throughout the entire planet. You can think of the byproducts of Teflon, for example. And I mean, that's the most innocuous thing you would think, but it's really big. And now with CRISPR, with people, making organisms, I mean, we're looking at some tough times here. Geez, I got off track on that one, didn't I? Oh, well. So that's this intersection. Have we come up with a name yet? Okay, first of all, what is it? It's a web. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's actually 7 roads out of here, one of which you could barely count. So it would be better to say there's 6 roads out of here. So it would be a 6-way intersection. Luckily, it's not all in the same exact spot. And so there are options for a lot of things. One thing to consider is this. We only have one road coming in from the Barranca, okay? And it's not going to change up here anytime soon. It could on a different spot, but it probably won't. We don't want too much shit going by the view if there was traffic, right? If there was actual more people going by the view. And this is the only other road there is here, except that road that I don't want to talk about because I want to keep it nice and mellow and foresty in there. I have plans for it. Oh, I didn't tell you about this whole grove here. Dang, I almost forgot a whole grove. This is a really beautiful spot. There's only so many places where there's young, kind of adolescent, we'll call them adolescent forests. They're not adolescent in terms of human years. Actually, they could be. It might actually be the best name for them. A bunch of them are going to die, okay? They're going to compete with each other for the same resources, and they'll die off. And so what we're going to do instead of that is harvest them in some way. Now, in this case, I'm not going to top them right now. I could still do that, but I just topped an area nearby, and these are also a building supply. They're growing fairly nice and straight. And one person says I should trim off all the lower branches and make them put more of their energy into going up and straight. That's true. He's a forestry guy. He knows these things. But I'm not doing that right now. I haven't done it so far. I might do it. I don't know. So this needs a little map for it. My thought was instead for now and I've already done this, I put a trail into it and made a circle. And then I haven't made a fire pit or anything. I was thinking more of a daytime gathering spot, like where you have a discussion. It's so close in. And I can maybe ring it with cedars. Now there's something to make a hedge. And it just makes this private little amazing place in a totally central location. And so that's something to wonder about, is which things are you willing to squish. I would say if I was willing to squish a particular area, a particular part of this intersection, what I mean by squish is to clear out more angles so there's more radius of angle of use or something. I don't know. It would probably be to fill in this place that goes down more and have that then planned on to connect with whatever buildings are going to go there. Before any of that happens, this is an odd spot. It's just above the ladder. On the other side of it, there's a ladder. That's the nest over there, just down by Bad Bend. And so what should happen in this area is totally unknown. But the cool thing is, well, the interesting thing is it has the least interesting shit in it. Okay? One of them has a park thing. One of them has a grove thing happening of unknown future. That'll probably get cut down in some way because I'm going to make a view above that. Because this uphill road goes to an upper spot, and I'm going to make a great view spot up there. If I leave some of these, they'll eventually break the view anyway. So it's unclear if those should be harvested or what. So this area, over by the doghouse, basically doghouse, view, and then what? There could also be a gatehouse over here of some kind to control this spot between the nest and Alicante. That's not a bad idea. We really want to think about building spots a huge amount. I think it's so dangerous to sprawl. And currently I have a bunch of fairly low impact buildings. You know, my total square footage of building is so low, it doesn't matter. But that's not a good enough way of thinking for a future if you're going to have more people in a space, right? People are inherently destructive, and they really try hard to be if they can. And we can make buildings and customs, technology combined with culture that can have them be in a space and not be destroying it. I believe that's totally possible. There's many peoples in the world at many times now and in the past who have lived that way for some time. And there's been some colossal failures of humans to predict how their future is going to go with a particular resource they need to survive. And we've never heard about most of those, because most of those happened, or actually interesting cases probably happened, in prehistoric times. History is not that old. And history certainly is not trustworthy, and we know adventures were occurring. I mean, they certainly have occurred in historical times, and you can just imagine the bizarre things. I mean, I actually kind of like caveman movies. I like Planet of the Apes movies, which is future monkeys kind of. And then, you think about Neanderthals. Humans and Neanderthals had contact, and they found different types of humanoids that we know almost nothing about. I forgot their names, and I'll put a link to it, or you can look it up. Types of humanoids, probably, or humans or something. Because they found tinier people, and they found all kinds of stuff. And, we don't know everything. We do get out, and we do some sciencey crap. But our information is very scant. And one wonders, if you wanted to make even dramas, it would be pretty funny to make them with cave people. But I don't think we have to present them the way that they're sometimes presented. If you're going to do like a drama with cave people, right? Language is an issue. And you have several options. There was a really cool movie, I think it had Daryl Hannah in it, and I think there was no words spoken. You go look it up, I have no idea, I forgot. But it was a good movie. And that was based off of a book series called Books of something. I have no idea what it's called. Anyway, not a bad series of things. It's not scientifically accurate entirely, but actually there's some stuff in there that is drawn on scientific ideas that are entertained, and some of, I don't know what level of research went into it. It is of course funny because the main character pretty much invents everything there is. It's pretty funny. It's a little romance novel-y. It's not too bad, but I don't know. I enjoyed all of them. I read them all. I mean, until I don't have them. I don't know. I've read like 4. I don't know if there's more of them, but not a bad set of books at all. So in terms of security, this is the end of the mesa, that whole intersection, whatever the heck it's called. It's the end. Now I could instead call it the entry, because I know that this will probably get used. It is an entry. I'll say that. And since we can then agree that we know that this is these few access points are the points to get on and out of the mesa on this side, and we have the luxury of having quite a few of them. That's actually awesome for landscape design, because or urban design, I guess. I don't know, it's not that urban. I don't know, would it have a name for like Pueblo design? Small? But I'm trying to think as if I was a person who was a pioneer in a place, you know, and you would make very many decisions very pragmatically, and they would evolve. I think these are called desire lines, right? Like when engineers lay out a place, or whoever lays things out, and then the people's feet connected to their head decide to go walk in the place that they were not expected to walk. And you can see pictures of this online, right? Desire lines. And so I try and not just think of desire lines here, but think of future use. I try and actually, in many cases, I will go against what people would desire, and I will block them from doing the thing that would destroy the land. And every single spot is a case-by-case basis, you know, case-by-case decision of, like, I could put more dirt here. No, I don't want to put more dirt here. The point is, I'm trying to let water go down here in Alicante. So I always have to remember, where is the water going? The water is the greatest resource that's here. And it's not just what we capture to drink. So when you think of rain catchment, for example, don't be so human focused, okay? Of course, be that, because you need, you know, things to drink. So take care of your cisterns and your tubing and your gutters and things coming off your building, and, you know, quality of your water and all that crap. But don't forget that there's an entire whole bunch of organisms around us. If our society is designed properly, right? Anything close to correct in design, then all of the rainfall that comes into this landscape should be used for maximum effect. And almost all of it, the goal is to store it in the earth, which sounds maybe a little weird, you know, like you store water in tanks, right? You don't store it in the earth. Well, if there's a place where water pools up during a big rainstorm, right? And there's some big rainstorms here. Rain comes down very hard, and there's tons of it, and you wouldn't want to be out in it. Like, if you go out, you will be soaked in like a minute and a half. It's like, it can be like walking into a waterfall at times. Now, that's gusts of it maybe, but it can go also all night, and places can wash out. And this is why places in the world have floods, is because they didn't plan their landscape around water. The landscape was evolved around desire lines. It was evolved around people thinking, I would like to do this thing here now because it profits me at this time the best, but I want them to make guesses based on all the knowledge we've seen of engineering anywhere in the world, in various climates, and looking at all the options we have. There's all this collection of amazing cultures and old buildings we can look at, and new innovations popping up everywhere, and we can very carefully pick and choose what is not most expedient for us in the moment, what is not our desire line, but a plan for how this would work if there were more people here. Because even with the few people I've had here over time, it has had an impact. A positive one, in my opinion. And you can think whatever you think about, you know, that. But I'm doing amazing things here in really sculpting ways. Very natural. Like, I'm doing things like making it, it's kind of, you know, there's so much to talk about. It's like, forestry is really cool. It's an honor to just be in a forest this long. I mean, I spent a lot of time in nature when I was a kid, because my dad was so cool, and he took me out in the forest a lot, and I would spend, a long time in the forest. And being here, it is even far more meaningful than it was then. I mean, then it was this amazing awe. I remember one time we were hiked up above Staircase, and I can't remember, there's a place called Four Stream or something, and we went up past that into some place, and we went across where the river was kind of low. It wasn't as high as normal, and we camped on this island, and just in a little tiny tent and stuff, nothing fancy at all. And we woke up, and I was really surprised because, I'm like a kid and stuff, right? So I'm like, and I'm all like trying to wake up, and I hear there's just weird noises, and it's just, this a weird realization, we are not alone. And then you are surprised, and I don't even remember interaction with my dad. I just remember after my initial surprise of seeing these huge elk. There were huge elk all around us, just kind of eating grass. They were just acting like cows, basically. But they were just gorgeous. You know how like a horse can look really good? Because they just got these rippling muscles and stuff, and they run in cool ways, and the little baby ones are cute. Horses, they're just more elegant than cows, I'm just going to say. Sorry if you like cows. All the cow people, I apologize. Cows are far superior. Oh, I don't know why India has a weird thing with cows. They should drop that. It's a waste of energy to have that many cows around. Anyway, sorry. Do whatever you want, India. Don't give a shit. But these elk were living in this river valley. And there was, I don't know how many of them, over 30, and I don't know how, they go in big herds, right? And they have horns, some of them, majestic horns, and they have rippling muscles. And they did not acknowledge us that much. I mean, they looked at me sometimes, and they said, huh. And I see it in their eyes. They're like, well, that's different. And I guess it's not a problem. I guess I'll eat this grass. And, they keep an eye on us a little bit, I felt like. But who knows what they were really thinking. I'm not good at elk mind reading, apparently, because I didn't know. But it was so peaceful and amazing. It really made a great impression on me. I've had other instances where I've had very close contact with wildlife. I tell you them at a different time. But some of the stories I haven't told. But that was really amazing. I have another elk story, too, to another time. So what am I supposed to name this place? It needs a name of all the places because it's in between other places, and we can at least say next to. Okay, so we need names for places so we can even talk to each other, and they have to be good in English and Spanish. And this one can't have an identity that has anything to do with what's right here. Intersection is a stupid name still. Oh. I wonder what they call crossings of ley lines. We could claim that there's two right here, right in these intersections, and we decided to run a road right over them. Although that'll, piss off people who actually believe in that shit. It'd be funny to make it up and then have them get annoyed that we made it up, and then be offended anyway. And it is true, things become spiritual in a sense, but that's why I care. Here comes Coco, he's awesome, he's a white dog. I've never had a dog look quite like him. Him and his brother. His brother looks different, but they both are just great dogs. Anyway, I'll tell you about dogs later. Fuck, it's going to get cold out here. I have to finish this. I have to name it. You know what? The closest spot to a public plaza type thing would be this area between here and the doghouse. So really, what we're talking about is using that as plaza in any case. The question is to what degree we just build over it using waste dirt, or do we dig down at some point and make as much sunken in building as we can, sculpted in the right way. And I'm going to argue for that. And regardless of what you put on top of it, regardless of what else we do with this space or things related to it, if it's already partly dug down, then we should dig it more down. And then we could even build a plaza right here. If we want an open space, and I do kind of want an open space, rather than have it be, for example, buildings. I did think this would be a great place for buildings to block this, and there can still be something like buildings. But if this area of the whole mesa is a spot where we can dig down and make a building, then we're deciding what building to make based on the contour of the land, okay, and its ultimate use. And I love the idea of public space on top. I think public space on top in this climate should be the default for any high density, high value area. So have multiple layers. Now, how high do you go up for other parts of it? I don't know. We can think about it. How is this a barrier to increase privacy on that side? It very much is. How do other pieces of design, which I have videos on every part of this design, right? Every place. And they're mostly unnamed. I got to name these guys. I'm shy to. It's a big responsibility. I think I'm going to call this a plaza. I did not know that before. It's going to become a plaza. It's an obvious spot for it. It's great for solar, not perfect, close enough. And there's another spot way better over there for solar at the volleyball court. But it's not bad. Allows me water control if I need it. Got to watch out for it though. Plan this shit really well for drainage above it, because you don't want it to get waterlogged in a rainstorm, even a 1,000-year rainstorm, even the unexpected, just like it blows everybody's mind, like volcanoes went off and changed the climate. Okay, dig your buildings in. I'm talking to me here, but I'm also talking to everybody else in the whole world. I think if you're watching it, you're part of it. Dig the hell in, okay, and get off the coasts. Those are my actual design thoughts for where humanity should be and what we should do. And I would also suggest only moving, as you move, to places where there is enough water to support the population, and think about how you're going to survive long term in terms of water. That's the biggest thing that's important. Just get the hell out of certain places. If you know it's going to get bad there, if you know it's going to flood if the ocean goes up or down, basically we have most of the population of the world living on the coast, and that's really terrible. And I know why it happened. It's, again, those desire lines, right? We do the thing we want to do because it's the best thing for us to do at the time. But if we have a little foresight, just like instead of being crazy adolescents who think they know every fucking thing and do what they want, instead if we could really think, what is the optimal thing to do in the situation? And that could be agricultural, that could be architectural. Those are our main things, I think. Food and housing. If we can change food and housing, which includes energy use, and waste management, of course, all the stuff, all the related stuff, which I've got solutions and thoughts for all of it, then we'll have made major advancements on fixing some of our varied other problems. Now, I know that various people listening to this will think, well, those aren't the two biggest issues, agriculture and architecture. But for me, they're ones I care about a lot. And if you care about other stuff, that's great. I've got my list too. It's a pretty long list. I hope you don't pick the wrong things to try and fight. I think we have to sculpt culture, and we have to build things that can replace the things we don't like. I know that I don't really want to spend my time fighting against anybody at all. And I'm obviously willing to be a hermit if I have to do that. And that's okay with me. I don't like it, actually. I have mixed thoughts. I'm not going to pretend that I'm anything I'm not. Usually, whatever. But, I love it here so much. And also, I'm tired of it in a way. I love getting out of it. Even going to town's really fun for me. I spent too much time here. And also with less people here, it's more boring for me. When there's people here doing projects, and I'm helping them do the projects, in not like being a teacher guy, it depends on the topic, but providing space, providing the ability for them to do a thing that they would love to do. And I'll prompt them into it. I will help them with tools if I have them, and I will help them get what they want out of the experience, right? It's all a performance in some ways. Some of it's more interesting minute by minute than others, but some of the Bosque is a stage. I'm not going to say all the Bosque is a stage, because it isn't. There's private areas. And I would say actually the minority of it's a stage, but we're trying to build this almost as a set. And this is of interest to documentarians. I look at these spaces, especially here on the mesa, right? This is the big, huge space. It goes way over there. So let's do a quick review on the mesa. I'm in a particularly chipper mood, so it's a pleasure to have you hanging out with me with your one-sided-ness. You're welcome to communicate your thoughts and post them in places if you want, wherever they go. I'm interested in everybody's thoughts on everything. I want to introduce you to a place, okay? And this is a place that's very, very important to me. And so if you talk to me about this place, you should have respect for me, that I have respect for this place, and I'm serving it well. This is the largest flat area in the entire forest. It has a view going that way, roads going to other places down there, road to town on the north side, and then a loop over there that goes to some cabanas. And there's a cabana over there, and then this cabana, and there's a grove over there, and then there's a building in progress over there. Next to the cabana over there, there's an odd thing, a cool cave thing. And then there's huge trees over there, and then there are really short trees right here that we're sculpting. This part, we're doing a crazy forest thing. It's like, just think of it like we're doing like bonsai a little bit, but we're not going to torture them. We're not going to put them in little dishes and shit. I don't know why I think of bonsai, but some of the principles of it, of deciding what parts of a plant you would like to encourage or not, are also at play. Although we're also thinking about this in terms of each branch could be a bench. Every branch could be a something. You know, one of the things I've thought about for this area, this view park, right, is that it could be almost a rule that you would cut the mid things from bench to table level, right, up to, you know, as high as you can reach if you're me. That's, I don't know, 7 feet. And it's all case by case, okay? The idea being you clear out this mid-range of these short trees. We're talking pine trees in here. We're talking oak trees. The capulines are a little different, so they're going to get treated very differently, and they also may be used for grafting cherries onto or something, or peaches. We don't know. Well, we do know we're doing it. So that's an interesting idea. What do we call that? We call it table to arm. That's a dumb name for something. Okay, we'll use it anyway. Table to arm clearing. And that means that anything between table to arm length is suspect to be killed. Why? Because we want to walk around, and anywhere we cut that is that high will then have more energy in the things above it, and it makes like a roof. So essentially we have ways of making tunnels in a green forest. But we may want that lower layer for blocking areas off, for using as a bench and tables if that worked out. If we were like looking at the branches and we were like, you know, if we were wondering. So it's very dangerous, this process of walking into it with machines. We use a chainsaw and a pole. We use machetes. We have tree saws. So we have a variety of tools, okay? And we haven't done this because right now all we've done is topped it. It's all theoretical. You tell me what you think. But don't tell me I'm stupid unless you're smarter than me, because that's annoying. And who knows? Forget all that shit. If you got a really good idea, just write it up, and I'd love to hear it or see it. So anyway, we cut the mid-level. That's the idea that we're currently discussing. And I think that the problem is going in to attack that problem. Let's say you have a team of 5 people or 3 people or 1 person. In fact, maybe I should just start. I can barely fucking walk still. It's exhausting. But talking about this view park, which we're going to try and gardenify as much as we can. Right now I'm walking into the main current entrance to this area. It's right near the view. There's a tiny island here that blocks the vision to the view. And that's kind of cute because if we maintain that at that level, it also makes it more foresty because in the intersection itself, we have a visual blockade. I think that if you get your traffic patterns right, that can be a really nice thing to have at intersections. You know, whatever. So we're walking in now. It's getting dark out. We have tons of young trees. All of them are living art supplies. And this cedar right here wasn't here before. We got seeds from nearby. That cedar wasn't there. That cedar wasn't there. That cedar wasn't there. This is an alley of cedars, and that we can sculpt, right? And we have plans for them. I'd like to, in this spot, make them into a big dome, a green cedar dome, and put a fire right here. The fire would be on a movable fire pit, all right, and a pretty good size. And so that we have people in a circle, and how big we make the fire will determine how big that circle is. I can eventually run internet out to here and broadcast from this spot. I believe that. The other thing is that as we plant these cedars, and we're going to do a deeper row now that I really believe it's a great idea, and we're going to block the wind as much as possible. Because one of the worst things about a campfire, and I've had a lot of campfires with people, I've hosted them, and I feel very responsible, so I was paying a lot of attention to the design of it and the experience. And having smoke on your eyes is fine if it happens a little bit, and it's very annoying if it happens a lot. So I don't mind if people get a little smoke in their eyes. But I'd rather create a fire space in nature, useful when it's dark, that is comfortable. I want them to have a wonderful experience with that fire. And so I want a dense thing of cedars around here that we dome in. And these are young still, but I mean, we planted, I forgot how many years, but not that long. They grew pretty fucking quick. They grew pretty quick. So I want to tie these together with rope. It's going to be hard to do, but I got some friends that can help me. And it's one of the reasons you should donate to this project, or in some way help it work, because I need help. And I got guys who can help me, but I got to help them too. So, you know, I'm in a community of people. Anyway, tying all these together, then we bring them into a dome right here, okay? A green dome, a green cedar dome. And then after they're thick enough, we can figure out how to maintain them. We'll probably be able to climb them quite easily, because once they get to the top of the dome and they go over into the other one, they have to entwine into the other one, okay? We don't want to just cut them in the middle entirely. The only spot that we won't entwine them together, because they'll be entwined different directions too. We got to kind of weave them almost. Whatever we can do to weave structure here. We might even plant willow as part of it. Who knows? I hope your imagination is going wild. Mine is. So at the top, the very top, there'll be an opening. And the smoke goes out that. Why does it go out it? Because the air in here is very still, and the fire's hot, and the smoke then goes up. If it doesn't have protection from wind, then it will tend to go in various directions most of the year. So the protected fire pit concept is really good. And this gets into bigger ideas about how to sculpt land, including plants as part of the landscape, into forms that serve people. This is like tree sculpting, right? And I'm less worried. Well, the thing is, they take so long. These are not profitable probably to make for most places, but there are a lot of people who own forest land. And one of the, I guess, you know, who's my audience for these videos is what I wonder. I hope one of my audiences is people who have access and control to land. Anybody who does. Bill Gates in the United States is a huge landowner of agricultural land. I don't know what his agricultural land does. I would love to give him advice on some crazy ideas I have. And he's a guy who's dealt with a lot of crazy ideas. And so some of those might catch his fancy. And we could, have within his organized system, he probably hires people to do shit. We could have experiments in other uses for some of that land that might not be the most economically profitable by the percentage of unknown currently. So we'll see. Had a banana plant right there on the mesa. Surprisingly, the mesa gets very cold. It actually gets more frost than other places. And that is because it doesn't have as much tree cover. And that's because I changed it. So it's all changing back now. There's supposed to be a trail through here off of this circle of cedars. Let's go down the trail from the circle of cedars in the dark. Oh, this is great that I can walk around like this. It's absolutely fantastic. I hope I don't fall down. I fell down recently and actually broke a rib. And I think it was actually broken because I've cracked ribs before. But anyway, it still hurts like shit, but I'm getting around. It'll get better. Fuck, this trail's great. So the details of this trail, this is where the big action is design-wise, is what happens in this park. And the current plan is that this one trail right here that I'm coming down off of the Cedar Circle, which has a thing that goes off to Nexus, and there's a path that goes up that way towards other crap, towards the intersection that needs to be named. This path, then, it's totally unclear where it is. This is the first time I've walked through here because I've had some trouble walking. But what I don't want to do is make a network of trails. That's not what it's for. It's going to have one trail down the middle, okay? And that trail may swerve, and we can consider many paths for it. But I don't want a network of them. What I want is spokes. Spokes off of it to interesting spots on the sides that maybe have a little more space. And so it could be a spot to sit. The really important thing to consider is the future trails to the sides, because those will likely become a stand, a market stand that's really cute and has electricity, but just a tiny bit. And I almost see this as potentially, they're controlled entries, or they're stores, and they're both. They could have a public spot, they could have a public covered roof spot. In fact, all of them should. So that they're actually oases on the side of this thing. But then inside there's hidden spots. And I don't even know. I don't want to walk through this trail. I might fall over. The trick is the volleyball court, and that's unknown, because this whole thing goes way up by Bliss. It goes up to a diagonal road, right? And then it probably ends there, that part. But there might be a whole building put over at the volleyball court, because that currently, with the current vision and plan of the entire Bosque, that's the best solar power location in the entire place. It's going to have the best sun in the morning, all day long, every day, if it's designed anything close to right, which it should be designed absolutely correct. So it would be worth it. You know, I see these people's pictures of like half their house is covered in solar panels. I'm just like, oh my God, that's not really ecological, because they're still using as much electricity. They're still producing tons of batteries. If they're grid tie, that's different. I understand grid tie. But I'm really a big fan of decentralization. And so to the degree that we can locate and develop batteries that are efficient and less garbage-like, that'd be great. But for now, we're using too many batteries. If you have a system like that run on batteries, you have a problem. I can solve that problem here, and I will tell you how we'll do solar better here in that spot where the volleyball court is. Okay? First of all, like any other building, it has multi-uses. And so we don't just think about it as a solar place. That building needs to sustain itself in all the other ways, like solar hot water heaters. It's an obvious one. Thinking about the entire interplay of that building with every space around it, and what are the purposes that are ideal for that building. So this is a different way of evolving a space than if you just had a bunch of people go to a place and they start like this little street of things. Every building for me is a guess. This particular building, I'm imagining we do as much south-facing solar panels, and some can be on trackers, as necessary, and as we can fit really, and what we can imagine building, with whatever budget. Make it have a lot of high human use as well. So it has, portals. So all around it, you can walk on these portals, and that they're not really residential portals at all. There's going to be places within the building. I think I have enough space for this to be true. And there's smaller sleeping spaces behind the open store spaces. So essentially, you're looking at a market, okay, with views and things. Now, how markety that is or not, it depends. It depends on the needs. But you build the skeleton correctly, and you don't build into it controls on the use. You make it a framework. And you have to make some decisions that are just decisions, and if you mess it up, you messed it up. So that's why I run a lot of my ideas through people on video, actually. So this particular one, though, I believe could have enough solar panels to power. The goal would be to power the mesa. That's the actual goal. And currently the mesa, I'm the only one using anything up here. So nothing is actually needed, but I'm taking my solar electricity from the lodge. And so we could have a localized, larger system up here that could feed into a whole bunch of other uses. Like right now, I can't have very many people use a laptop even. I mean, people should practically bring their own solar power here, but then also leaving your stuff around is difficult, and I don't know. I wish I had a solar backpack. I think that'd be cool. Because I walk around, I used to walk around a ton. And I'm currently trying to walk around more. I'm using you as motivation to make me walk around. Basically, I'm taking you for a walk. And I guess you're taking me for one, sort of. But who are you? You're a mix of people. So the View Park is divided into 3 sections. There's the north section at the View. If we were dumb, we'd call it North View. Please don't do that. Shouldn't even say things like that. But if it's too confusing a name, it doesn't make sense. Maybe, no, we don't want to do another language or something weird. Anytime I have a weird idea about naming that I think is really creative, it often, I shouldn't say anytime, it's not anytime. Many ideas are great. But I have often named things that violate my own naming rules, which is very bad, and they don't work. And I've seen why they don't work, so now my naming rules are stricter than ever. Light. I need a lot more of these. These are great. This is a gift from a person named Courtney, who was one of the more entertaining people I had here after I stopped mostly having people. So she came through and we did some fun things and we made some videos. You can see those. And she's goofy and fun and smart. So anyway, she gave me that as a present, which is a great present. Really good Bosque present, if you want to give the Bosque presents, is motion sensitive LED lights of a high quality. And there's actually probably on our website, oh, see, it just went off. We walked away, got bored. Oh, now it's back on. See how it does that? That's pretty cool. Right off from the View is a big flat area. And it's the real view. It's the actual view of the lake. And it's a place where a lot of cool things are happening, actually. The moon's coming up over here. Whether it's sunrise or evening, this should be one of the best places in the Bosque to go for an experience of some kind that is pleasant. Because there's something inherently beautiful about looking out on the lake. And it just, I mean, so much of the Bosque experiment, especially I spent so many years here in the forest, it's very insular in many ways. It's very here. And I want that philosophically to be what it is. Like we are here now, experiencing very intensely what it is to be and what it is to be in a natural environment. What is it to be in a society with each other? And so I think that this is what's the only spot currently where you can look out and you remember you're in this bigger real world. Because I can feel like I'm in a different world here, and I've helped other people have experiences where this is their world for a time. You know, sometimes a short time and sometimes a longer time. But you look out on the lake and you see islands, and people live on those islands. And I've been to, dang it, I was going to say all of them. There's one I'm missing, but it's just never interesting enough for me to go there. So I like Paconda a lot, and Yunwen is what it's called. And then everybody knows about Janitzio. Janitzio almost gets too much tourism. And if it's possible for people, there's other options. I don't know. No, you know, I don't really want to see a lot more tourism development out there. I would love them to have like something like a retreat center on Paconda. And I think, well, there's a place to stay out there. So maybe it already kind of exists. Maybe I'm like saying something that's obvious. But there could even be a dock on this side of the lake. The problem is there's not enough people on this side of the lake to make it make much sense. But Pátzcuaro is so far from those islands, right? And so if there's already transport and infrastructure near it, like in, let's see, Napizaro or Pátzcuaro, I don't know which. One of those two. Yeah, Napizaro or Pátzcuaro. And then also that when you go down that direction, you eventually get closer to Pongio. And the Pongio is part of your overall plan for the municipio for tourism, right? It needs to be, because that gets people from Morelia. So Morelia people are used to getting out to Apongio, and it's not that much of a stretch then to get them to go a little further to a dock to get to a place where they stay longer, they pay more, and it's better for the development of the place. Now that's just my idea. That's just my thoughts, right? The people of Puakura are a collective, I believe. They're, I don't know if they're a Hito or what, but they all own the land together. So I don't know what their decision-making process is, but obviously, you know, it's really all up to them. It's an amazingly cool island with nice people. There's a tiny lake on it. It's called the belly button of the world, which is very exciting. You can visit the belly button of the world. Isn't that exciting? Well, if you Google it, you'll find out there's a bunch of belly buttons of the world. So that's interesting. Probably less armpits of the world. You can almost like figure out what body parts people like based on what they name stuff, I guess. But like, where's the elbow of the world? Anyway, we never finished with our tour of the view entirely, did we? I'm going to try and finish this exploration of the view. So its connections are to all of the mesa and the view. That's it. There is the thought to dig this entirely down and have it be a set of plazas dug into the slope, just like at a spot between here and Bliss that is unnamed. I hesitate to do that until we know what we're doing. Again, don't do the first one. Something. God damn it! I'm gonna fall over out here. All right. Don't do the first one in the best place. Okay. So we want to dig into this slope and we want to get down to bedrock. I'm not sure if we just do a little plaza here, like that again collects sun and is awesome. It's just so comfortable and correctly designed for being a wonderful space to enjoy everything in the world. And it could be that over there on this side of the ladder that we have a building that goes all the way down the ladder and it goes all the way down to the dimple. That's a whole nother video. It's the ladder area, the ladder, and then I don't know. So, but it's tempting. I don't know. There's so many options. And then over by Bliss, I basically down that ridge, I want a form of highly vertical buildings like the Greek Isles have, except designed for this climate and aesthetic and with more intention rather than them evolving. So I'll call these, I guess, in general, slope buildings. Should I call them that? Buildings built on slope. Oh my God, what the fuck am I doing out here? I don't even have a light on me or anything. I've gotten good enough now. I guess my health is good enough I can be an irresponsible dumbass. Oh God, I hope this isn't locked. Oh, great. Fuck. Wow, this is very difficult to navigate. I did light a candle in here. I lit a magic candle that I bought. It's a Santa Muerte candle right there. Has a bunch of colors in it. I'm not a religious fan of Santa Muerte. I think it's an interesting imagery thing, so I like that part. Oh, there we go. Oh my God. Oh, I'm tired. This has been a long day. And well, a couple days, but they've been good. I've been recording lots and lots of videos, and no idea if they're boring or not. And I guess whatever, watch them or don't. They're at least a journal for me. They're a symptom of me being mostly alone. There's some other people here at the moment, and there's always the dogs, of course. But I talk to the camera as honestly as I do because I don't have anyone else to talk to. And so it's a little odd because instead of like enjoying the kind of conversations one would have with one person, which I still have sometimes, but I don't have that kind of a social interaction as much as I would like, actually. and I used to really enjoy it. I used to have people in my house, and they would hang out and chat for whatever pretext, or just because it seemed like a good idea. And because I live so far out, and I live so far away from people who I can host here well under current circumstances, I can't have even guests, and I don't want to have touristic guests anyway. I want to have people here who agree with some philosophical things that I believe, and at least accept that and don't clash with it. I want to do that. It's not an open-minded place in the sense that anyone can come here and do whatever they want. In fact, by coming here, you kind of are making social agreements. And there's different social agreements for different ways of visiting here. There's a social agreement if you're going to set foot anywhere on this property. And I don't know whether we need to sign something or just be really clear about what a day visitor's responsibility, limitations, and opportunities are. Because I want to have day visitors have a great time. And I would like to just tell them ahead of time the ways in which I think that people might have less of a good time and how they can be on the side of making sure that everyone has a good time. And if everyone does that, if everyone's like this responsible, aware person about how they affect others, if they read rule lists, if they control their children, if they be their best selves, really, this is not even a place to visit for a short time and go wild or something. It's not a free and open environment to the public. This is not a place that I will have people at because they make a reservation. They will make an application. And that's how it's going to be as I figure out how to have a community here of some kind, or I just figure out how it's going to be as a park and I give it to the municipio or something, the county. I don't know. I've been to some cool gardens in Seattle, and there was some designer that was involved in making a garden really cool, and almost all of them, of course, had some level of design. And so it was really fun to look at different parks. And unfortunately, I didn't visit every park. I should have been like crazy and visited every single park. There's a lot of tiny parks that aren't that interesting. But it's great to think about the design of those parks. And if this place really ends up as primarily just a park, I say that because that doesn't really meet the really crazy goals that I have for social design, for how we interact in a more dense way with a forest. But if it just ended up as park, right? There's some buildings and there's some uses and people get married here for the view or something, whatever. I guess that's okay. That's the minimum. Protect it, and have it get used by somebody in some way. But I don't think I like that so much, and I'll tell you why I don't think it's enough to just protect it and make a few tiny spots for people to live, and then those people really enjoy it, because economically speaking, this land will have higher value very soon, and so will the other properties near it, and it's going to get used for higher value purposes than pine resin. And so what I'm doing is sculpting a space that if I can create this human forest experience, and if people value that so much, then it'll protect the forest. It also may save civilization, because it's an experiment in how people can live closer to nature and be in balance with the extraction that they take, the ways in which they interact with it, which are not always evil. I'm not anti-human, but we're all going to fucking die. I'm sorry. We're all going to die if we don't change how we do things. That's very simple. Get into the graphs, give up on your emotions. I know it's upsetting. Give up your spirituality, your religion, your politics. Give up what your friends say. Who gives a shit what your friends say? Your friends are a tiny fraction of the viewpoints in the world. So if you're doing what your friends say, you're probably not much of a thinker. No offense. I mean, you might be a great person. There's a lot of kinds of great people in the world. But, yeah, it's that peer pressure thing, which goes in all parts of your society. I look around the world and I see that we're all really trapped, actually, in our societies in different ways. We're not just nations, by the way. We're just tons of overlapping subcultures of sets of values and where people come from and everything. So it's going to only be a more chaotic world in that regard now that everyone is getting online very quickly. and figuring out how that works. And, you know, most people, it turns out, are kind of assholes. Well, no, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. That's a really terrible way to think about things. There's a lot of noisy assholes. And I think there's a lot of people, like sometimes I don't comment, well, mostly I don't comment anymore, on people who just say dumb shit because it's not worth my time. I mean, if they can't understand things rationally, look stuff up, and, you know, you could just say, well, everybody has their point of view. It's like, well, some people tried to have a point of view that actually makes sense, and it happens to not always match up with their friends, with their peer group. And so that's why I say something so rude, like if you agree with all your peer group, you're probably not thinking. It's just a guess. I mean, you all happen to come to the same conclusion because you grew up in the same place with the same kind of people. You come from a culture. Everybody comes from a culture, and it's all culture, whether it's good or bad. I'm not talking about culture like an opera house. Some people think culture is like this fancy thing. No, culture is every goddamn thing there is. It's how we eat, interact, have language, how we deal with land, which is one of my big issues here, is like, how do we deal with land? And how do we deal with our extraction from it and our putting back into it? That's the big trick. And so, yeah. Sorry, I get distracted by myself. Whew, God, I'm exhausted. It's been a day. Very fun day. Went to town. Got some new plants. Got a lavender. Got another citrus cedar. Citrus cedar. A cedar that smells like citrus. You grab it with your hand and you crunch it in your fingers, and it smells like citrus. Now, I'm already doing cedars here as hedges, right? I've collected a bunch of cedar seeds, and I now have cedars growing in different spots. Very soon, I won't even have to go get seeds somewhere else. I'll have them here. But I'm going to cut a lot of these into hedges. Coniferous forests are not the most diverse, and largely I'm converting this place from coniferous to other things already. And so I have no real reason to have cedar things except a cedar grove for poles. I can do that if I have a place I don't know what to do with. I could grow like generations of cedar poles, and it could be like really thick beams, you know. And so it could be a construction cedar forest. And those actually have really nice shade if you do them right. And so they can be good picnicking spots underneath. Some kinds of mushrooms might like it. So there are options with every single tree what kind of grove we would have. Anyway, this is a lemon cedar, and it looks more bushy, you know, like those little short cedars you see. So I'm not real optimistic it's going to grow big, and I'm going to look it up. You should look it up too, you know, lemon scented cedar or something. It's here in central Michoacan, and I've seen it for sale multiple times, and it's my third one I bought. The first one I was in Morelia. The city was overwhelming that day. I just couldn't deal with anything. It's just, I'd never go in the city, and if I ever go in, I need to be very prepared because it's overwhelmingly noisy to me, and there's all the fumes of everything, and I'm trying to do something usually, so I'm not just relaxing. Relaxing in the city is fun. If I was just going there for fun, it would be great. But usually I'm like trying to get something done, and it's difficult because I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know where it is, and those people often don't know what's going on sometimes. Depends on the place and the product and all that. So, but in any case, it's an adventure, and it's not what I grew up with. So for me, it's going to a foreign city, even though I know it very well and I like it. Morelia is a great city, actually. I love it so much. I couldn't live there currently. If I had a like protected, nice little oasis, I could handle it, or it would depend. I don't know. Anyway, what was my point? No idea. I would recommend against using your headlamp on full. This is not on full right now because your batteries are going to wear down faster. If you're living in a low energy situation in a stable way, okay, you're not just camping out briefly, but you're trying to make a stable long-term lifestyle of using less electrical energy, okay, then you want to protect your batteries as much as possible. Hopefully your system is rechargeable, and hopefully the rechargeable battery is replaceable. If it's built in so much you can't replace it, that's dumb. If it uses an expensive battery, that's bad. So it's simple, cheap, basic, rechargeable batteries are what you want. And then this one has different modes. So like it's off, right? That's a mode. Another mode is a little red light. Now I never use this one. It's too little. I could though. And it uses probably less than white. So the reasoning I'm about to use in favor of conservation and the other aspects, I guess I should consider this too. I'll try the red light. You try the red light. You tell me how it goes. But the next one up is my best one for me. And that's just two lights, and they're the wide ones. And that's going to give me a slighter crossover of light. It's very slight. But I want to, have more stereoscopic vision anyway. And so if the light's hitting from a wider angle, even just a little bit, maybe it helps a little bit. I don't know. Now there's other modes. If I go in the kitchen, I would turn on a light here and then turn off my light here. Unfortunately, it's really easy to forget that you have your light on over here. Let's pretend we're in a spot where there isn't a nice light up there. So that's our red one. We're in the kitchen. I could navigate with this, but it would be hard, and I don't feel like it. So this is great. This is natural light, close enough, and I can see all the crap here that is a total mess. And I can think, wow, what a pig lives here. Damn. But at least I get coffee in the morning, right? So there we go. Brighter, and then flashing. So there's two levels of brighter, and then flashing. Why would you ever use flashing? The only thing I can imagine is if you had an extra headlamp and you had an accident or something, or maybe, who knows, if you really like flashing lights when you're dancing or something, I guess you could do that, right? But that seems like a total waste of electricity as well. Any system like that should be using a bigger system. Although who knows? Who cares if you do that? But I guess the fact that things are rechargeable isn't even good enough, really. Rechargeable batteries last less than other batteries. No, that's not true. Overall time is more. They're more efficient, but they still die. Okay? I'm a person who's lived with a variety of electrical devices at various scales, very small scales, and some of those were small devices. And I find that the rechargeables I have are lacking. They tend to die off. And so, I don't know. I really like the idea of personal lighting equipment. And so I want to have the best solutions for people to light their own way. In other words, rather than put up street lights, this is the biggest issue, is rather than light up the roads at night, have people have their own lighting, and then support that with some fairly low energy passive things along the road. So this gets, it's part of road design, right? Any path can always be, may always expand. So consider that, and then choose what kind of path it is very carefully. Along the paths, one of the options is, there's a main road path thing. It's a one-lane road. It's a little complicated on one end. But actually, it's all complicated. The roads essentially need large sculptures that are luminescent. And it is my belief that the ways to do that are by having posts with reflectors. That's not the best part of the idea. That's pretty basic. So that when people have their personal lighting equipment, it reflects off near the road things. Now, just sticking a bunch of reflectors up won't look that great. Later, some of them may become shrines and things, and there could be even solar panels, and there could be lit places, there could be motion-sensitive lights, there could be things that occur when you walk by them as an entertainment. There could be roadside attractions. I mean, the sky's the limit on creativity. I'm just mentioning a few obvious things. If you're going to have people walking at night on a trail, that we can turn everything like that into a park of some kinds, regardless of whether the person's in a car or on foot. But mostly when I talk about these things, I'm talking about experience on foot. Experiences for cars are more difficult, like it's neat, but I just don't want a lot of driving around at all, so I'm against that. So I'm designing really almost a festival space kind of thing, kind of like a Oregon Country Fair, or oddly enough, Burning Man. The layout of Burning Man is quite interesting, and it has more to do with cultures and people than it does do with the topography, because the topography is not the defining characteristic. in this environment that I'm designing here, the topography is absolutely critically important. And the roads are designed to fit in with that topography correctly, what I believe is correctly. And I'm learning as I go. But in order to have the best optimal use for everything. And so I talk a lot about plants, right? And optimal use for plants in different places and making places for plants. But there is something about the social design of the space. And so let's go through a quick check on some of the thoughts regarding social design of space. One is, how does it relate to the roads that people can get at, or will be able to get at later when the roads change or whatever, however they develop? What's above it and below it on the slope? What the long-term vision is, and best use of each space is. So, I mean, it gets back into landscape pretty quickly, but each space, the use of the space creates a certain social experience. And so I want some parts of the Bosque, for example, to be more adult friendly, you know, and that just means there's not kids around. And one of my pet peeves with parents is that they often think that their kids are the most important thing, and they don't rein them in, you know, because kids are like random dogs, kind of. They're like puppies, and they're kind of annoying sometimes. I like kids, but they got to follow the rules. And if the parents are going to come here with kids, then they need to follow the rules, help the kids follow the rules. That's also because I don't really have as great infrastructure. So even though it sounds anti-kid, it's not. I'm not anti-kid at all. In fact, I would like to make it a project. If you're a parent who likes the Bosque Village project or something like it, or communities like it, or whatever, if you want to design some kind of utopian society, then toss your ideas my way about Kidville. And it's not going to be called that. I think for some reason. Oh, because it sounds like Kill Bill in Spanish to some people. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was told. So, but Kid Village, it should be something in Spanish. Kid Villa, I think is what I came up with. Kid Villa, that was it. Anyway, the name's open. The point is there should actually be 3 of them. These are areas that are specifically designed to have care for different ages of children in different sections next to each other, with housing and facilities for caregivers of various kinds nestled within, and access to different spaces, and entrances and exits to spaces controlled, have a professional staff and activities for kids and different levels of activities and different, there's an activity designed each space. Now, why do I say 3? Because we're doing land layout, and I think that there needs to be a lot of space for kids to run around outside. I think that is absolutely the most critical part in what the Bosque can offer, is that each kid area has acres or hectares of space for kids, a kid adventure land. And the danger of making 3 is that we might think, oh, we'll give a little bit of space to each one. I would like to over-allocate space for 3 kid villages. It's because I have so much respect and love for children and how much they're going to create the future, that I want them to be close to nature, that I want them to deal with kids of other ages. I would like multiple kid overlaps, basically, of spaces. I would like a space where parents can drop their kid off and come back later and their kid is fine and happy, and they get a little report on how their kid is, and then they go off to sleep wherever they are. Kid villages can have kid sleeping areas, and there should be spaces within those kid sleeping areas where parents also can stay within the same building. Maybe not all parents, I don't know. Maybe parents who've been there before the longest or whatever. I don't care how it works out. The north and the south ones would be designed potentially for serving either residents or public people. In fact, the north and south ones both are designed so that they can accept the public and residents, private, and mix them at will. In other words, it's really 2 kid villas. It's the private side and the public side, but they mix together, and we need to make decisions about that. And again, we want places for all kinds of authorities to be there to monitor these children. So there's probably a security guy or 2, probably 2. 2 of them are, the north and south ones are relatively near a gate, and so that changes security a little bit. So we make it very secure. The architecture should reflect that entirely. And they should not be stereotypical playgrounds at all. That's not what I'm imagining. I believe that there can be play equipment. Have it, great. Not going to hurt anybody. And have it be professional stuff. I mean, we shouldn't make wonky shit anyone's going to get injured on. But it shouldn't be plasticky crap either. So I'm not sure. It's case by case on every single thing. Whether it's a walking beam you go across. Maybe there's elements of a low ropes course, you know. There's definitely a wide variety in Kidvia of plants that are very kid-friendly. They have aromas. They can be harvested. They can be reproduced via cuttings. Seeds can be collected from them. They can potentially eat them or make a medicine, whatever. Nothing toxic. Kidvia should have no toxic plants. Should also have no rattlesnakes, because there are rattlesnakes, and Kidvia should not have them because those snakes are not the best toys for kids. Anyway, the edge of Kidvia has around it stands. And how these fit together, there could just be a row of them at first, I don't know. But they have their they have their private window out into the public world. And one of the ways in which they interact with the public is by selling shit to the public. And what this causes is industry, right? And you know, when I was growing up, I was desperate for money. I wanted to work so bad. And I was just trying to brainstorm what I could do that would fit in anywhere in the world. And I was very frustrated I wasn't allowed to fit in anywhere in the world. You know, I wrote to Ringling Brothers Barn Bailey Circus, and I got back a form letter. I understand that they have to send that. I would send the same thing if I got letters, fan fucking mail from little kids that want to do something. But, you know, I believed I was ready to, you know, shovel elephant poo or something just to go off to the circus. So I was very sincere, and so I felt insulted for a long time. Of course, I don't now. That's oversensitive bullshit. And that's how we have to deal with rejection in all cases, I believe. But anyway, so the Kidvia, right, the point is that rather than divide them off into their adventure playground, which we are partly doing, we actually have them have ways to engage with more mature people, and kind of like a lemonade stand. Okay, let's just use that as a starting example. What could kids sell to adults? Okay, without health hazards, without it being totally goofy, stupid waste of time. You know, I'm not going to coddle these little people. I think that they should provide some service, right, somehow. And so, lemonade, okay, that's idea number one. And then the question becomes, what is the list of all the things that businesses that you could start to run depending on how old you were? Okay, I don't expect a 4-month-old to run much of a business. I think their main business is just try and survive and stuff. But, you know, when you get up into creative years, like, I don't know, it maybe varies by person, but I would say by 5 years old, I could have done something better. And I didn't do very good. I don't know. I didn't like chores. My dad would give me things to do I didn't like, so I didn't do them. I was a bad employee of the family, I believe. My brother, I don't think was any good either, but I don't remember that well everything, but I don't think either one of us was very helpful. He was a hard-working dude, and I just like to think about stuff a lot, and then I like to design things, and then sometimes I do things or have somebody else do it. Somebody else does something, I'm happy with it. If I have an idea, I'll just give it away. I don't care. The moon is gorgeous tonight. Oh, it's a very wide-angle lens. Oh, my back hurts in this position. I actually own an easy chair. I wish it was in this building. It's in a whole other building, and it's a real pain in the ass to move. And I would probably want it upstairs, although who knows, I could put it right here. It's not a bad idea, actually. I could move the easy chair to here. I could have strong friends help me do it. It seems dumb because it's already been up here and moved down there. That's why I feel stupid about it. It would be better just to get another easy chair, because there should be an easy chair. I think this would be my easy chair theory. Let's see, I'll just make it up as I go along here, and you can agree or not. Oh. This is rainwater, by the way, from here. It's real simple. unfiltered. This particular tinaco gets something like red mealworms or bloodworms, something like that, bloodworms in it. But you can eat them and they don't hurt you. They're just food. They're little red worms that make you think, holy shit, there's red worms in my water, and maybe I shouldn't drink it. I looked it up though, and it's fine. But I can't promise if someone comes here and drinks water out of my system, it's just a tank. I mean, it's not a good system. It's very simple. And so I actually provide bottled water that's a really nice guy filters down in town, and most people should just drink that. Don't drink my rainwater. In fact, I'm going to just say don't drink my rainwater if you're visiting me. Don't do it until I trust you and you're actually a resident here, or you're here longer term, and then we'll see how rainwater does for you. It is my belief, after many years of living in the forest off of rainwater, that my rainwater systems are pretty damn good. They should all be improved, and that's costly, and I could capture a lot more water. But the amazingly great thing is that I believe that it is potable water, even in the worst places I collect it. In other words, it's drinkable. I don't filter it, and I would be against anybody who wants to sell me or sell the community a water filtration system. Whether it's somebody who just thinks they're really into it as a hobbyist and wants to tell me what to do, or whether it's some scientific-y person who knows what they're talking about, or an engineer, or a chemist, or a biologist. If somebody can't make good criticisms that are valid of my system, then my system's already the best. And I'm not going to change it. There's too much tech in the world. I mean, I grew up drinking out of mountain streams. I never got Giardia. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's a different risk now. Maybe there's different things. I don't know. I'm not saying go drink out of mountain streams. I'm saying we can design into our cities and towns and into your house. It should be a requirement of your house that you capture all of the rainwater that's on top of it and put it into cisterns. Guess what? That's harder than you'd think in a lot of climates, because it actually adds up. It's a lot of water. The place, of course, that's going to benefit the very most are places that get very little rain, but get rain. And if they can store all of that rain, if that's the goal, every roof is capturing that rain, then they can recalculate how they can live on that land more lushly. Okay? They're moving, in many cases, rain from one time of the year to another. By just building a building, you already, where the rain comes off, you double that rainfall at that spot. Then you can channel off into ponds and stuff. Especially you can channel off into ponds before you're ready to store it. So your first storage system might be, okay, let's dig some ponds. It makes sense anyway for water flow and everything. But eventually you're going to want that off that same building, all of that water to be stored in places that are good enough to drink. And so they're probably going to be like those big plastic tanks. I have a 7,000 liter one. I've got a bunch of smaller ones and another one that's kind of big, but I think the biggest one I got 7,000 liters. And they got them down to 100 liters, you know. Water should be all over the place being stored at the correct scale at the right place. And so that's the cost of your building, I think. And you can calculate that for your climate. I can do it for here. I can go on to weatherspark.com or look up, what rainfall here is and when that rain is in your climate. Because if you have a climate where it rains all year long a certain amount, you actually need less storage capacity because you're going to be able to refill. Now, in my case, there's a bunch of dry months and then there's some wet months. So my goal is to move water from the wet months into the dry months. Now, my rains come in the summer. Your rains might come in the winter if you're in a place like Northwest where I'm from. And you still want to capture all of that water, and then you can use that to irrigate during the summer. Now, by having these decentralized systems of water, our whole civilization becomes more fault tolerant. If something goes wrong with the water system, it goes wrong in part of it, hopefully, not all of it. You're not building a large civilization on waterways like maybe Angkor Wat. I don't know if the Mayans had good waterways. I believe they might have. There's been a bunch of other civilizations that figured out how to handle water in a big way, but it then failed on them somehow. Now, that could have been a drought or something, and it could affect, even if it was decentralized, you're not perfectly protected, right? But by decentralizing, if we can do it well, if our technology supports it, if our architecture supports it, and our investment into the future of independence suggests that we can capture water and we're going to do it, then let's do it. Now, you got to check your air quality issues. I am not an expert on rain capture in the city. You can probably Google that, rain capture in the city, and look at rain capture, acid rain capture, rain quality, stuff like that. And I don't know what to tell you on that. It is my belief the civilization is going to fall anyway. And so I'm designing systems that will work in most places. I'm proving it here. I've been living on it forever. And it's just a matter of making some calculations and engineering and figuring out how we can have all of our water be provided by rain capture. If you do that in your society, you've done some amazing things. You know, and you do it in ways that are going to last hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years at least. Okay, think 600 years. If your plan is for 30-year mortgage, your plan's bad. Okay, you're wasting society's resources on your stupid investment of bad housing and buildings. We need to build buildings that are going to last 600 years in most cases, or build buildings you're going to have a picnic under that are made of all biological materials anyway. Who cares? So architecture determines the society and where it puts its energy. And if we only build buildings that are efficient, then we're going to automatically lower the footprint of every individual person. Oh, I'm tired. Goodbye. I hope you've enjoyed me rambling on. I think what I'm going to do is take clips of the stuff I've been talking about and just save them as smaller segments, because then they'll be topical, and also I might be able to combine some of them together if I cut these into little pieces. Anyway, I'm going to try and relax here. It's been a long day and a great day. Thanks for chatting with me. I'm going to try and relax in my very weird place here. And, oh, man. Good, I got water. I wonder sometimes what other people's lives are like right now. I do share bits and pieces of my life more than most people do. And I wonder what people I've known. I wish they published more, although I did have a chat with a friend, and I want to do that again. I want to chat with a bunch of old friends, because I knew those people for a reason. I met every one of them and kept them in my life at all, and invited them to events, and had longer chats with some, and others were just acquaintances. But I knew a lot of very interesting people that I liked, and that I think I'd like to know forever, if that's possible. I'm so far from everyone, it's hard to know people, but I want to definitely talk with some old friends on webcam or something. And I'll have to make new friends that live closer too. I do have people who have come back to the Bosque sometimes. I have people who have come here back to the Bosque multiple times. I don't know who holds the record for how many times. Oh, I do know who holds the record. And then there's other people who have been here the longest. And then, each person's had a very different role, so it's very hard to figure that out. I haven't had a consistent enough time where I have a core staff that can handle a steady stream of people, and so it's exhausting for me to have people here. That's one of the reasons I'm not really that friendly to people who want to come here sometimes, because I'm not in the mood to have anybody. So some of those people I choose not to have here, I hope that people don't be offended by that at all. If I choose not to have someone here,